Hey everyone, another research review coming at you. I wanted to share an article that I recently came across. It was published by a group out of Western Norway University. Looks like they were working with Dr. Brad Schoenfeld on this one. And I thought this was interesting, even though the findings might kind of seem insignificant. But I think it just highlights some interesting kind of practical applications when it comes to program design, or training style preferences in terms of how you set up like a weekly training split. So the title of this study is a randomized trial on the efficacy of split body versus full body resistance training in non-resistance trained women. So essentially, they were trying to look at the potential differential effects of doing a full body workout kind of training split, or to kind of split it up into more bro split or upper and lower body type of training split design, and then looking to see how training adaptations, that being strength, power, muscle mass, those types of outcome measures changed over the course of a 12-week training program. So they randomized, I think they started with 50 participants, randomized them into 1 to 2 groups, one of them being a full body training group, the other one being a split training group, in which case they split them into 4 workouts throughout a week using an upper and lower body split. Again, whereas the other one just did full body workouts and they only trained 2 days a week. And they participated in this resistance training program over a 12-week training period, at which they assessed, again, various strength and power measures at baseline. And then again, after the 12-week training program, in addition to power and body composition measurements. And so the individuals that participate in this, I think they ended with about 44 after accounting for dropouts. But these were previously non-resistance trained women, so they hadn't done any prior strength training for at least 6 months prior to participation in the study. And then, free from any kind of major injury. I think the average age was about 22 years of age. Average body weight was about 150 pounds, I think. Give or take, if we convert it over to pounds. So, somewhat active, otherwise healthy, younger adult women, kind of a population similar to college age, or slightly older type of population. And so I'm going to kind of jump right to the training program itself. And so if you're watching this, you can see I have table 1 pulled up from the manuscript here, in which a case, again, they kind of present to us what that training program looked like, whether they were in the 4-day or 2-day, that being the full body training split. So importantly, throughout the 12 weeks, they didn't report any significant differences in training volume over the 12-week training program, meaning if you were in the split group program, at the end of the week, you completed the same number of sets, same number of reps for weight, multiplied by weight lifted, whether you were in the split group training 4 days a week versus the full body group training group. And you can see there's much fewer exercises being performed in the split body group, right? We just have our lower exercises, lower body exercises on day 1, upper on day 2, and then we can see it kind of continue throughout the week, but really only about 4 to 5 exercises per session in that split group training intervention or training group. Whereas the full body group, you can obviously see it's about double that, right? About 8 exercises, because they have to do a full body workout. So much more exercises. So I would assume, I don't think I saw this anywhere in the manuscript, but I would assume the time to complete the training sessions were quite a bit different. The full body group, I would assume that's probably a 45-minute to an hour workout, whereas the split group, I think it's reasonable to get that done in about a half hour, depending on what kind of warm-ups and things like that the people ended up doing. So again, much shorter training sessions, but a higher frequency throughout the week in that split group. Whereas this would be a much longer training session, full body workout, but you're only doing it 2 days a week. And so if we look at the results, if we kind of scroll down here into the different figures here, both groups got stronger in most of the lift that they were assessed in. So stronger in bench press, pull down, leg press. They also reported increases in lower body power. and then very small increases in muscle mass. And if we jump back up to the abstract, they converted them to a percent type of outcome. So you can see no interaction effects between the two groups, meaning both groups got stronger, but to the same extent. One of the groups didn't get stronger than the other. So again, you might say, what's the big deal here? These are kind of null findings or no really significant interactions, meaning no differences between the groups. Because again, if we look at the percent improvements, they're both comparable in terms of the increase that's noted here. So both groups got stronger in the bench press 1RM, 25% versus 30% increase. That difference may seem like a lot, but statistically it was non-significant. Similar increases in lat pull down strength, similar increases in leg press strength, similar increases in jump height across those two different training groups, and then similar increases in upper body power, slight increases in muscle mass, but again, no differences between those two treatment groups. So again, what's the big deal? Why do I think this is interesting? Well, it really just comes down to a practical kind of take-home message here, and more so depending on a person's preference for how they like to set up their weekly kind of training split or workout routine. And this is something that even me personally, I change up quite a bit throughout the year based on what time of the year it is, how busy I am with other things, how busy my kids are in sports. If it's summertime, if we're traveling more, I'll structure my weekly workouts kind of differently. And what I had been doing most recently, was something a little bit similar to a split group. And normally I don't really like training this way, but the reason why is because I could get these exercise workouts done in about 20 to 30 minutes. But I would do something almost daily, sometimes even twice a day. I would go, knock out 3 or 4 exercises in the morning, maybe come back at night, finish that workout. Certainly not ideal. That's not how I prefer to, but that was where I had those chunks of time that instead of just saying, oh, I only have 20 minutes, that's not enough to get a workout in. I kind of just changed my philosophy and said, you know what, I'm going to get half my workout in, finish the other half later in the day. And what we kind of take away from this study is there's really not a lot of difference between how you would structure those training programs. Again, if the training volumes equal across groups. What I don't think I covered earlier was the set and rep scheme. Let's see if I can find that again quickly. The participants performed 3 sets per exercise with a progressive increase in load and decrease in the number of repetitions as follows. So this is kind of fairly common of how we set that up in resistance training studies. So the first 4 weeks they were doing 12 RM sets, then they dropped to a 10 RM, then they dropped to an 8 RM. So the weight should be going up, from each of those kind of microcycles to the next. However, the targeted reps are going to go slightly down. So usually within 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, kind of on average throughout that 12-week training study. So not highly advanced by any means. This is pretty basic, straightforward resistance training program, yet still effective, right? We take people new to strength training, put them in 2 different training splits or training styles. Both groups got stronger. No real differences across those training groups. So if you're someone who only has 2 days to exercise, but you have a good hour and a half to work with, you certainly can get a lot out of doing a full body workout on each of those 2 training days. Whereas if you're someone who maybe only has 30 minutes over a lunch break every day, that's it in terms of kind of, identified good time to exercise in, you can get shorter resistance training workouts in throughout the week and still get stronger or still kind of experience benefits from doing that. So that was kind of what I liked from this study, and what I took away personally was to kind of reaffirm some of the ideas and opinions I've had on this. Is you can still get a lot of bang for your buck, assuming you still structure kind of your overall training program appropriately with progressive overload, hitting adequate training volume, and things like that from week to week. And then whether you're doing that in 2 kind of longer training sessions or split up across 4 shorter training sessions, again, you could still see similar results across each of those 2 different training styles. So again, I just thought that was an interesting study. It was nice to see this one kind of done and kind of, now published and available in literature for other, trainers or strength coaches or kind of fitness enthusiasts to, take that and incorporate it into maybe how they structure their own training programs, or just to reaffirm clients or athletes if they may have concerns about, hey, I only have 2 days to lift. Is that enough? Well, yeah, this study would certainly indicate that that should be sufficient, at least in the earlier stages of training, to elicit positive improvements in strength and power. Or again, if you only have those 30 minutes, if you can kind of get these 3 or 4 exercises done 4 days a week, that also should be sufficient in getting you stronger or increasing, power, if those are some of the desired outcomes. So again, I highly recommend checking the article out if you want to dive into the weeds and kind of get the full breakdown. But this is just kind of our brief research review on this. This article is open access, so it's free to read and download. You can see it was published here in the Journal of Sports Science, Medicine, and Rehabilitation. And again, that's open access, so you can just Google us, should be able to find it.